Oh, just finished morning exercises for the first time in, I don't know. Well, I did them last week, but they were not as good. I was slipping. This was the first good morning exercises I've done in a while. Really good one. And it reminds me of something. You know, just things that have been going on lately remind me of something. An important life lesson that is a really easy one to forget. But it makes a huge difference in your life if you go by it. And the lesson is basically this. Don't accept anything that you find unacceptable. And you know, it's basically it's another way of saying be true to yourself, you know? So when you're going through life, you will often end up with the worst thing that you're willing to accept. Because there's always going to be people around trying to push something on you, push some lifestyle upon you, push some kind of thing upon you that you don't want. And if you just flat out say no, then you're not going to get that thing. And what usually happens is people say, not that, but all right, I'll accept this. And then they end up with this life that's kind of like, it's all right. And the hardest thing about absolutely refusing some of these things is that you don't have another option. It seems like you have no other option. Like you'll get presented with life, and this is something I hear from people all the time. They're like, yeah, I'm stuck in this life I don't want, but I have no choice. I have no other options. And often it's accompanied with all this peer pressure. You got to do this. You got to have this job because it pays this money and does this, and then you get the prestige, and you got to do this. You got to do this. And you can't see another way out until you flat out refuse. And this is the way this works. You often have to flat out refuse the life you have or the stuff you're being offered before alternatives even become visible. And kind of an example of this is when I first moved off grid. This is like kind of the big example in my life. You know, I went to university because I was told you have to do this and you have to do that, and this is how you get a good life. This is the one path. You have to do this. And I was always kind of like, I don't know about this, but if everyone's telling me this must be the way to go, right? By the time I finished university, I was so disgusted with the world and just the society around me. I was like, there has to be something else. And it got so bad that within a couple of years, I was like, I would rather die than live this life. And when I got to that point, that's when I could see other options. And I'd always dreamt of just going somewhere, just like I would sit in class, staring out the window, and I would just dream about jumping out the window and just running somewhere off into the wilderness. And it wasn't until I got to the point where I was like, I would rather die than continue this, that I actually saw that running off into the wilderness as possibly a real option. And then I did it and moved out to the wilderness, moved off grid, and it was the best thing that ever happened. Oh my God, it was amazing. Everything in my life before that was garbage. Everything after that was like that's my life, you know. And you know, this is just a metaphor for a million different experiences and situations. And in my life, over and over, I've had situations that were basically unacceptable, but I could have accepted them. But it wasn't until I got to the point where I was like, no. I would rather die than accept this. That then other options became available. Okay, I'm going to go jump in the ocean because I'm a sweaty mess.